In the shadowy world of international espionage, where state secrets cross borders through encrypted emails and clandestine meetings, one of the most audacious corporate espionage schemes of the 21st century was orchestrated by China General Nuclear Power Corporation, known as CGN. This isn't a tale of masked spies scaling embassy walls or dramatic car chases through foreign capitals. Instead, it's a story of how a multi-billion-dollar Chinese state-owned enterprise systematically infiltrated American nuclear technology networks over nearly 2 decades, stealing some of the most sensitive reactor designs in the world while operating under the guise of legitimate business partnerships. The scheme, which finally unraveled in 2019, represents one of the largest nuclear technology theft operations ever prosecuted by the United States Department of Justice, involving classified reactor designs worth billions of dollars and posing unprecedented threats to American national security. At its core, this was corporate fraud elevated to the level of international espionage, where the boundaries between business competition and state-sponsored theft dissolved entirely. The China General Nuclear Power Corporation emerged in the 1980s as Beijing's flagship nuclear energy company, tasked with modernizing China's civilian nuclear program and reducing the nation's dependence on coal and foreign oil imports. Founded in 1985 and headquartered in Shenzhen, CGN grew rapidly to become one of the world's largest nuclear power companies, operating over 20 nuclear reactors across mainland China and claiming assets exceeding $40 billion by 2019. The company's official mandate was straightforward: develop clean energy infrastructure to support China's economic expansion while mastering advanced nuclear technologies that had long remained the exclusive domain of Western nations. However, beneath this legitimate corporate veneer lay a more sinister operation. CGN was not merely a commercial enterprise seeking market share and technological advancement through conventional means. Instead, it functioned as an extension of the Chinese government's strategic objectives, systematically targeting American nuclear technology companies to acquire trade secrets, proprietary reactor designs, and classified technical specifications that would have taken decades and billions of dollars to develop independently. The company's dual nature as both a commercial entity and an instrument of state policy would become central to the Justice Department's eventual prosecution. The theft operation centered on stealing the design specifications for the AP1000 nuclear reactor, one of the most advanced and secure reactor designs ever created by American engineers. Developed by Westinghouse Electric Company over 15 years at a cost exceeding $5 billion, the AP1000 represented a quantum leap in nuclear safety technology, featuring passive safety systems that could prevent meltdowns without human intervention or external power sources. The reactor's design incorporated revolutionary cooling systems, advanced containment structures, and automated safety protocols that made it virtually immune to the type of catastrophic failures that had plagued earlier nuclear technologies. For China's nuclear ambitions, acquiring this technology legitimately would have required decades of research, billions in development costs, and extensive licensing agreements with American companies. Instead, CGN embarked on a methodical campaign to steal these designs through a network of recruited insiders, front companies, and sophisticated cyber operations. The scheme began as early as 2007, when CGN executives identified key personnel within American nuclear companies and began cultivating relationships that would eventually provide access to the most sensitive technical documentation. The stolen AP1000 designs would later form the foundation for China's domestic nuclear reactor program, saving the Chinese government an estimated $15 billion in research and development costs, while accelerating their nuclear capabilities by at least a decade. The mastermind behind CGN's American operations was Xu Xiongho, a naturalized American citizen who had spent decades building relationships within the American nuclear industry before becoming CGN's most valuable intelligence asset. Born in Taiwan and educated at American universities, Ho possessed the perfect profile for corporate espionage: impeccable credentials, extensive industry connections, and the cultural fluency to operate seamlessly within both American and Chinese business environments. After working for various nuclear consulting firms throughout the 1990s and early 2000s, Ho was recruited by CGN around 2008 to serve as their Director of Nuclear Technology Acquisition, though his actual role extended far beyond legitimate business development. Operating from offices in Miami and later Atlanta, Ho systematically identified American nuclear engineers and executives who possessed access to sensitive reactor designs, technical specifications, and proprietary manufacturing processes. His recruitment methods were sophisticated and patient, often involving multi-year cultivation periods where potential assets were gradually introduced to Chinese business opportunities, lavish entertainment, and eventually financial incentives. Ho's success lay in his ability to present these relationships as mutually beneficial business partnerships rather than espionage operations, convincing American nuclear professionals that they were participating in legitimate technology transfer agreements rather than theft of classified materials. The recruitment of American nuclear engineer Qing-Ning Gui represents perhaps the most damaging aspect of CGN's espionage network, demonstrating how the company penetrated the highest levels of American reactor design teams. Gui, who had worked on sensitive reactor projects for multiple American nuclear companies over a career spanning 30 years, possessed encyclopedic knowledge of reactor safety systems, cooling technologies, and structural engineering principles that formed the foundation of advanced American reactor designs. Beginning around 2012, Ho began cultivating Gui through a series of consulting contracts ostensibly related to legitimate nuclear projects in China, gradually escalating the scope and sensitivity of requested information while increasing financial compensation. Over the following 4 years, Gui provided CGN with thousands of pages of technical documentation, including detailed reactor schematics, safety system specifications, and proprietary manufacturing processes that represented decades of American nuclear innovation. The information transfer occurred through encrypted email communications, secure file-sharing platforms, and in-person meetings during Gui's visits to China, where he received additional technical briefings and instructions for acquiring specific types of classified materials. By 2016, Gui had become so deeply embedded in CGN's operations that he was effectively functioning as a full-time intelligence asset while maintaining his positions within American nuclear companies, providing real-time updates on new reactor developments and competitive intelligence about American nuclear projects worldwide. The scope of CGN's theft extended far beyond individual reactor designs to encompass a comprehensive intelligence operation targeting the entire American nuclear supply chain, from uranium enrichment facilities to reactor component manufacturers. Internal CGN communications seized by federal investigators revealed systematic targeting of American companies involved in nuclear fuel production, reactor instrumentation, safety systems, and waste management technologies. The company maintained detailed databases of American nuclear personnel, tracking career movements, security clearance levels, and access to specific types of classified information across dozens of companies and government facilities. CGN operatives attended American nuclear industry conferences, trade shows, and technical symposiums not to participate in legitimate business development, but to identify potential recruitment targets and gather competitive intelligence about emerging American technologies. The company's intelligence operations also extended to monitoring American government nuclear policy discussions, regulatory proceedings, and research initiatives through a network of consultants, lobbyists, and industry insiders who often remained unaware of their ultimate Chinese beneficiaries. Perhaps most disturbing, CGN's intelligence gathering included systematic attempts to recruit personnel with security clearances at American national laboratories, weapons facilities, and regulatory agencies, suggesting ambitions that extended beyond civilian nuclear technology into military and weapons-related applications. The federal investigation that ultimately exposed CGN's espionage network began in 2014 when American counterintelligence agencies detected suspicious patterns in Chinese nuclear technology developments that appeared to mirror classified American reactor designs with disturbing precision. The investigation, codenamed Nuclear Option, involved coordinated efforts by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Energy's Office of Intelligence and Counterintelligence, and the National Security Agency's Cyber Warfare Division. Initial surveillance focused on monitoring communications between known Chinese nuclear entities and American nuclear industry personnel, gradually revealing the extensive network of relationships that CGN had cultivated over nearly a decade. The breakthrough came in 2016 when investigators obtained court authorization to monitor Su Xiongho's communications, revealing detailed discussions about acquiring specific American reactor technologies, recruiting additional American nuclear engineers, and establishing front companies to facilitate technology transfer. Simultaneous cyber investigations revealed that CGN had also conducted extensive hacking operations against American nuclear companies, penetrating corporate networks to steal technical documentation, employee databases, and strategic planning materials that complemented their human intelligence operations. The investigation expanded rapidly as authorities realized the scope of CGN's operations, eventually encompassing surveillance of dozens of American nuclear industry personnel and multiple Chinese entities operating within the United States. The unraveling of CGN's espionage network accelerated dramatically in 2017 when federal agents executed coordinated search warrants across multiple states, seizing computers, documents, and communications equipment that contained overwhelming evidence of systematic technology theft. The evidence revealed that CGN's operations had successfully acquired virtually complete design specifications for multiple American reactor types, including not only the AP1000 but also advanced research reactor designs and next-generation safety systems still under development by American companies. Financial records obtained during the searches showed that CGN had spent over $40 million on their American espionage operations, including payments to recruited American nuclear engineers, funding for front companies, and sophisticated technical equipment for encrypting and transmitting stolen data. Perhaps most damning, investigators discovered detailed planning documents outlining CGN's long-term strategy for acquiring American nuclear technologies, including target lists of specific reactor designs, identified American personnel with access to those designs, and timelines for implementing stolen technologies in Chinese nuclear facilities. The evidence also revealed that senior CGN executives in China were intimately involved in directing the espionage operations, receiving regular briefings on acquired American technologies and providing specific guidance on priority targets for future theft operations. In April 2019, the Department of Justice announced a sweeping indictment charging China General Nuclear Power Corporation and multiple individual defendants with conspiracy to steal American nuclear technology in violation of the Atomic Energy Act, the most serious nuclear security legislation in American law. The 43-page indictment detailed how CGN had operated a decades-long nuclear espionage conspiracy that resulted in the theft of American reactor designs worth billions of dollars and posed grave threats to American national security interests. Su Xiongho was arrested and ultimately pleaded guilty to conspiracy charges, receiving a sentence of 2 years in federal prison and agreeing to cooperate with ongoing investigations into Chinese espionage operations. Qing Gui was charged separately and received a 3-year prison sentence after pleading guilty to violating the Atomic Energy Act by transmitting classified nuclear technology information to foreign nationals. The Justice Department simultaneously imposed unprecedented civil penalties on CGN, including a complete ban on receiving American nuclear technology exports and mandatory forfeiture of all American-based assets totaling over $100 million. Additional sanctions prohibited any American nuclear company from conducting business with CGN or its subsidiaries, effectively severing the Chinese company's access to American nuclear markets and technologies. The CGN case established several precedents that fundamentally altered how American law enforcement approaches corporate espionage cases involving foreign state-owned enterprises and critical infrastructure technologies. The prosecution marked the first time that a foreign corporation was successfully prosecuted under the Atomic Energy Act for systematic theft of nuclear reactor designs, establishing legal precedents for treating state-sponsored corporate espionage as a national security threat equivalent to traditional military espionage. The case also demonstrated the effectiveness of coordinated counterintelligence operations that combine human surveillance, cyber monitoring, and financial investigations to expose complex international theft operations that span multiple years and involve dozens of participants across several countries. More broadly, the CGN prosecution became a centerpiece of the Trump administration's broader campaign to combat Chinese economic espionage, serving as concrete evidence of systematic Chinese efforts to acquire American technological advantages through illegal means rather than legitimate competition or innovation. The case influenced subsequent legislation strengthening export controls on sensitive technologies, expanding counterintelligence resources for protecting critical infrastructure, and enhancing penalties for corporate espionage involving foreign government entities. Today, the CGN investigation continues to influence American nuclear security policy, trade relationships with China, and corporate security practices across industries involving sensitive technologies, serving as a stark reminder that the boundaries between commercial competition and national security have become increasingly blurred in an era of global technological rivalry.